my South African experience, to see is to believe. When I got the offer to go to South Africa, I was immediately excited. Wow, what a feeling, what a chance to go there and participate in the training program that captures so many of the things that made me go into politics and union questions. I felt that I had been part of the Swedish labour movement for quite some time, and maybe I had really started to see the flaws that actually exists in our own movement. The trip would be a chance to see how damn good we have it. I would get an international perspective, and I would be proud to see that we in Sweden are actually as good as we think we are. I would come to South Africa to get to know a bunch of comrades from my own movement, and while I was there I would get to squeeze a little bit on the South African culture and their movement, and I might even meet some interesting people from that country so far away. The trip started by meeting all the Swedish participants just to go through the setup and prepare for what was to come. Immediately I felt that I would feel comfortable with this group, but I was not prepared for it to be the emotional roller coaster it actually became. Already in the first days, this roller coaster became making itself clear. Before the trip, I knew that South Africa was the most unequal country in the world, and intellectually I realized that many people have it hard, but I was not prepared for what I was become to see and feel, and what I now have felt. Together with 15 people, I got to go into poor townships, and that was an awakening of God's equal. When I went into a tour into a small house that cannot be described in any way than a shack dump, and see how 3 families were sharing a room with less than 9 square feet, how the children had unbelievable little space to play on. When I talked to a woman who said that she has lived this way for 6 years, yes, that was when I started to realize and understand the poverty on an emotional level. During my short stay in this cramped room, I was filled with feelings, shame, fear, and anger, but all above I didn't know how to handle these things. I wanted to scream, I wanted to cry, I wanted to hit something, but at the same time, I felt I have no right to do that, because it wasn't me who has to live this way. I don't have to sleep in shift for everybody to have access to a bed. I do not have to share the toilet with 18 other people, and I do not have to worry just to get food for the day. In retrospect, I realized that I needed to see this to really believe. Now that I believe, I better know what I can do for these people. The same feeling filled me when I was at a seminar placed together with the youth in prison group and came in contact with Eric. He told me about his experience of prison and why he ended up there. Eric is convicted of attempted murder because he was in several gang wars, stabbing and beating people. During the short conversation with Eric telling me that almost none of his friends are longer in life, I got an understanding why they choose to belong to a gang. I understood that in many cases it hasn't even been a choice. It was the only option if you wanted some kind of belonging. In a society like Kalicha, where about 1.5 million people live in incredible poverty, but nearly half live in what I would categorize as a crapyard, and half the populations do not have a job to go to, the gangs become everything they have. In a society where youth grow up and do not see anything other than unemployment, so when you ask them, what do you want to do when you grow up, they don't even comprehend the question. It's heartbreaking to see, but again I found that I had to see it with my own eyes to really understand. Now I understand. Now I see. Now I believe. But with this realization, the hopelessness came. It felt hopeless. The next couple of days was filled with seminars and lectures from organizations, politicians, and unions. And the hope step by step came back. Hopelessness had another side. I saw and understood both intellectually and emotionally that there are an incredible number of people doing good, working for a change. I realized that the situation is actually improving, even though in a crawl pace. I met incredible people who with passion has inspired me and made me see that we in Sweden aren't as good as we always think. Somehow we have lost our history and our fighting spirit. That urge and that fighting history exists here in South Africa, and we have lots to learn from that. My thoughts about the people in my Swedish group, which later came to be filled with Finnish participants, came true. I have made friends for life, but the amazing thing was I got to know so many of their movement, and the realization that we all belong to the same movement and has to help each other in a better way than we do now. But for that help to be possible, we have to see. We need to see the whole truth, not just the simplistic truth that is unfolding on the news and only reflects a part of the reality. I think back to the man I met at the March for HIV-infected persons' entitlement to healthcare. He told me that he did not believe that the demonstration would make any difference, and after some conversation, I understood that he had lost his faith in society itself. He went to the demonstration for his sister's sake, but he didn't think it would make a difference. And of course, I do many things without thinking that a particular event or activity will result in a direct or tangible improvement. But this man had lost his light. He had lost his faith in society itself, and his light had completely disappeared. That moment was very painful for me, and again I started thinking, what can I do? I came to the same conclusion: I must see and I must believe. I must see the despair that exists in this man before more stops to see the light. The most dangerous part of a society is when people feel they have nothing left to lose. My stay in South Africa has given me many insights both about myself and the way we work in the labour movement in Sweden. I have met engaging people like Trenton, Isabel, Eddie, Salim, Corbin, Sarah, and many, many more, who together with their organization is working for a better society. I have seen that there is an incredible glow, but also that many have lost the hope. We need to get more people to see what we have seen before hope is gone. Seeing is believing. Viva South Africa.